The rain started before anyone noticed. It always does. It darkens the concrete and lowers voices, changes the way people stand in lines. By the time the chairs filled the basement, coats were already heavy with it. Someone adjusted a microphone that didn't need adjusting. Someone else counted the exits. Alina stood near the front with a folder she hadn't opened all evening. She knew what it said. Numbers did not require rehearsal. The room did. Faces she recognized and faces she didn't, all waiting for the same thing without agreeing on what it was. The air smelled like old coffee and damp wool. A lawyer spoke as if reading from memory, each sentence smoothing the last. The door opened late. Not loudly, just enough to turn heads. A man entered with the unhurried certainty of someone who expects space to make room for him. He wore a dark suit that held its shape despite the weather. He did not look around. He did not need to. The room recalibrated on its own. Alina felt it before she saw him. A shift that didn't announce itself. When their eyes met, it wasn't recognition. It was interruption, like a thought breaking off mid-sentence. She searched his face for context and found none. He stopped several steps away, close enough to speak without raising his voice. The lawyer stood, then sat. Papers went quiet. Someone in the back whispered a name that meant nothing to her. The man lifted his sleeve to check the time, and the gesture caught the light. Something red, thin as a mark, circled his wrist. Alina's hand tightened on the folder. She had the sense of standing at a fence she hadn't visited in years. "I own the project," he said, as if offering a correction. His voice didn't carry. It didn't need to. A murmur moved through the room and stalled. He didn't look at anyone else. Alina leaned into the microphone and found her voice where she'd left it. "Then you know why we're here." He nodded once. A decision traveled faster than explanation. "Cancel it." The word landed without ceremony. Chairs scraped. The lawyer spoke and stopped. The man's sleeve fell back. The red thread was older than it looked, frayed at the edge. Alina felt the floor tilt, just slightly, the way it does when memory refuses to stay put. "Why?" she asked, and meant more than one thing. He rolled his cuff higher, just enough. "Because you asked," he said, which was not an answer. Sirens sounded somewhere outside, distant and then closer, as if the city were remembering something it had meant to forget. The lawyer's briefcase clicks shut with the finality of something rehearsed. He does not look at Alina when he stands. He looks at the man in the dark suit, and whatever passes between them requires no words. The folder Alina brought feels suddenly decorative. She has prepared arguments for a negotiation that will not occur. "Mr. Park," the lawyer says, testing the shape of the name. "The investors will be compensated." Jun does not sit. He has not moved from where he stopped when he entered. "Draft the cancellation by morning." The lawyer's mouth opens and closes. Someone in the third row coughs. A woman near the back stands as if to leave, then doesn't. The air in the basement has changed composition. What was tension has become confusion, which is somehow worse. Alina sets the folder down. The microphone hums between them. "You can't just..." "I can." Jun's gaze returns to her. It does not waver. The holdings are private. The decision is made. She feels the room watching her, waiting for her to translate what is happening into something that makes sense. She cannot. The project they have fought for 6 months, the one that would displace 70 families, gut the center where she works, replace memory with glass, is ending because a man walked into a basement and said so. "Who are you?" she asks. The question is not rhetorical. She means it literally. The name someone whispered meant nothing. His face means nothing. But the thread on his wrist pulls at something she cannot locate. Jun's jaw tightens, almost imperceptibly. Someone who should have asked permission before taking what wasn't his. The answer arrives wrong. Too specific and too vague. Alina opens her mouth, but the sound comes from outside. Glass first, then the unmistakable crack of something breaking the wrong way. Someone screams. The lights stutter. Jun moves before anyone else processes what is happening. He crosses the space between them in 3 strides, and his hand is on her arm, pulling her down and away from the window. They hit the floor as the first gunshot punches through the basement window. Then another. Then a sound like the world tearing. People scatter. Chairs overturn. The lawyer is on the ground with his hands over his head. A woman near the door is trying to push through a crowd that has forgotten how doors work. Jun's body is angled over Alina's, one arm braced against the floor, the other wrapped across her shoulders. She can feel his pulse through his shirt. It is not racing. The shots stop. Tires scream against wet pavement. The sirens that were distant are now immediate, multiplying. Jun does not move. His breathing is controlled, measured. Alina's is not. Let go, she says. He doesn't. Are you hurt? Let go. He shifts his weight, checks her face, her arms, searching for blood. When he finds none, something in his expression smooths. Relief, maybe, or confirmation of a calculation. Alina shoves at his chest. He releases her and stands in one motion, already scanning the room. His men, she didn't notice them before, but of course there are men, are at the exits, speaking into phones with the clipped efficiency of people who have done this before. She gets to her feet. Her hands are shaking. The folder is on the floor, papers scattered. Someone is crying. Mrs. Tannen from 2 blocks over is bleeding from a cut on her forehead, shallow but insistent. The room smells like smoke and fear. This is your fault. Alina hears her voice before she feels herself speak. You brought this here. Jun turns. His face gives nothing away. Yes. No denial. No explanation. Just agreement, which somehow makes it worse. People could have died. They didn't. Because of luck. Because I moved first. He adjusts his cuff. The thread is still there, vivid against his skin. You should leave. Now. It is not a suggestion. One of his men is already approaching, young and expressionless, holding a jacket that isn't hers. Jun says something in a language she doesn't speak, and the man nods. I'm not going anywhere with you, Alina says. Yes, you are. Jun's tone does not rise. It doesn't need to. They know you matter. That makes you a target. I don't matter to you. I don't even know you. Something crosses his face. Not pain exactly. Something older and more permanent. You do, he says quietly. You just don't remember. He turns and walks toward the shattered window. The police are arriving, radios crackling, lights turning the rain blue and red. Alina stands in the center of the ruined meeting and feels the fence return to her in pieces she cannot yet assemble. Jun pauses at the door. He does not look back. Someone will take you home. Lock your doors. Don't go to the center tomorrow. Then he is gone, and Alina is left with questions that have no shape yet. In a room full of people who expect her to have answers she does not possess. Outside, the rain continues. It always does. Alina does not sleep. She sits on the couch in her apartment with the lights off and the door locked twice, watching the street through a gap in the curtains. A car idles at the corner for 20 minutes, then leaves. Another takes its place. She does not know if this is protection or surveillance. She does not know the difference anymore. At 4 a.m., she makes coffee she won't drink and opens her laptop. The search bar waits. She types the name someone whispered in the basement. Park. The results flood in. Development companies, holding corporations, philanthropic foundations with generic missions. Nothing connects. Everything connects. She tries adding the city. More noise. She tries adding words like criminal, syndicate, ghost. The articles that appear are older, speculative, the kind journalists write when they suspect but cannot prove. A man who moves money. A network that operates in spaces legal documents don't reach. Businesses that change hands overnight. She closes the laptop. The thread on his wrist returns to her in the dark. Red, frayed, tied with the kind of knot a child makes. She has seen it before. Not recently. Not in any context that makes sense with the man in the suit, the canceled project, the gunshots. She stands and walks to her bedroom. Pulls open the drawer where things accumulate without intention. Old birthday cards, spare keys, a watch that stopped years ago. At the back, under a stack of receipts, she finds the shoebox. Inside, school photos and report cards, and a single deteriorating friendship bracelet she made in 4th grade. No red thread. But the memory arrives anyway, uninvited. A fence. Rain. Someone standing on the other side who shouldn't have been there. She was 10, maybe younger. The details blur. What remains is the feeling that she had something someone else needed, and the giving cost less than the keeping. She closes the box. The memory does not clarify. It sits in her chest like a question asked in the wrong language. Her phone buzzes. A number she doesn't recognize. She lets it ring. It buzzes again immediately. The 3rd time, she answers. Yes. You didn't go to the center. The voice is male, young, not Jun. One of the men from last night. You're watching me. We're watching everyone who was in that room. You're the only one who matters. The phrasing stops her. Why? A pause. Background noise. Traffic? Maybe. Or wind. He didn't tell you. Tell me what? The line goes quiet long enough that she thinks he's hung up. Then, he's been looking for you for 5 years. Before that, longer. You're why he bought half the South End. You're why any of this happened. The call ends. Alina sets the phone down carefully, as if it might break. The coffee has gone cold. Outside, the sky is starting to pale, the kind of gray that doesn't promise anything. She thinks about fences and sandwiches and the way some gestures outlive the people who make them. She was 10. He was what? 12? Younger? She cannot retrieve his face. Only the shape of him, thin and wrong for the weather. Only the way he took what she offered like it might be a trap. The rain that year arrived early and stayed. She remembers that. She remembers her mother working doubles, her grandmother counting change on the kitchen table. She remembers the fence and the boy and the bell ringing. She remembers not telling anyone, though she cannot now say why. He left. She knows that much. One day he was there, the next he wasn't. She looked for him for a week, maybe 2. Then she stopped. Children learn quickly when to let things go. But he didn't let go. Her phone buzzes again. This time, a text. An address she doesn't recognize and a single line. He wants to explain. You don't have to come. Alina stares at the screen. The autonomy offered feels false, like a choice that has already been made for her. She thinks about the maps she hasn't seen, the 5 years of searching, the half of the South End purchased for reasons that now have a shape. She thinks about the thread on his wrist and the not a child tied. She gets dressed. She doesn't change her mind. She writes the address on her hand in case her phone dies, then crosses it out and memorizes it instead. Some things should not leave evidence. At the door, she hesitates. The locks are still thrown. The street outside is neutral, wet, unchanged. She thinks about staying. She thinks about all the ways not knowing is safer than knowing. She unlocks the door. The address leads to a building that does not announce itself. No signage, no lobby attendant, just a door with a keypad and a camera angled to catch faces. Alina stands on the sidewalk and counts the floors. 12. Glass and steel that reflects the morning without absorbing it. She presses the buzzer. The door unlocks before anyone speaks. The elevator is empty and too quiet. It rises without indicating floors, stops without warning. The doors open onto a hallway with 3 units. Only one door is ajar. Jun stands in the entrance. He has changed clothes, dark jeans, a shirt with the sleeves already rolled. The thread is visible. He does not smile or apologize for the hour or explain the cameras. He steps aside. You came, he says. I didn't have a choice. Alina does not move past the threshold. Your man called, then texted. That's not an invitation. It's a summons. He wasn't supposed to call, but he did. Jun's jaw tightens. He nods once, then turns and walks into the apartment. After a moment, Alina follows. The space is large and impersonal. Furniture that came with the lease or was selected by someone paid to select it. No photographs, no books, nothing that indicates preference or history. The windows overlook the city, but the view feels like surveillance rather than luxury. You've been looking for me, Alina says. Not a question. Yes. For 5 years. Longer. Jun moves to the kitchen, fills a glass with water he doesn't drink. 5 years with resources. Before that, with nothing. Why? He sets the glass down. Looks at her directly. Because you saved my life. The answer is too large. Alina crosses her arms. I don't remember saving anyone's life. You were 10. Lincoln Elementary. There was a fence. The fence. The boy. The rain. It assembles slowly, pieces that don't fit until they do. That was you. Yes. She stares at him. The thin boy behind the chain link does not map onto the man in the tailored clothes. The one who canceled a multi-million-dollar project with a single word. But the thread maps. The knot maps. I gave you my lunch, she says slowly. For 6 months. Every day I was there. That's not, she stops. Recalibrates. That's not saving someone's life. That's sharing food. I was starving. I was hiding. Men were tracking me because I ran from a place I'd been trafficked to. Jun's voice does not rise. The words land flat, factual. Without you, I would have died in that field or been found. You kept me alive long enough to disappear. Alina feels the room tilt. She sits on the arm of the couch, not trusting her legs. You were trafficked. Yes. You were 12. Yes. And now you're what? A developer? I. She gestures at the apartment, the city below, the shapeless enormity of what she still doesn't understand. Now I'm someone who doesn't starve. Jun picks up the glass, sets it down again. The gesture is automatic, empty. I survived. I learned what survival costs. I built systems so I'd never be powerless again. You built a criminal empire. He doesn't deny it. I built protection. For who? For me. And then for you. The answer comes too fast, too certain. Alina stands. I didn't ask for protection. I didn't ask for any of this. I know. Then why? Jun looks at the thread on his wrist. Touches it briefly, the way people touch scars. Because you tied this around my wrist and told me not to forget. And I didn't. Alina remembers now. Not clearly, but enough. The boy leaving. The rain. The thread from her sleeve because she didn't have anything else. It was a gesture, not a vow. I was 10, she says. I didn't mean it as a life debt. I know. Jun meets her eyes. But I took it as one anyway. The silence between them holds weight. Outside, the city moves through its mourning, traffic, construction, the ordinary violence of change. Inside, two lives that diverged decades ago try to locate the moment they became accountable to each other. Where did you go? Alina asks. After the fence. North first, then east. I worked in places that didn't check papers. Slept in places that didn't ask names. He speaks without inflection, listing facts. I learned English from signs and menus. I learned math from counting money I'd never keep. I learned to fight because not fighting wasn't optional. And then I stopped running. Jun turns to face her fully. I was 17. Someone hired me for work that wasn't legal but paid. I was good at it. I stayed. The work changed. I didn't. Alina processes this. The trajectory from survival to structure. When did you start looking for me? I never stopped. He pauses. But I couldn't search while I was still powerless. I had to build leverage first. Money. Reach. Systems that couldn't be interrogated. So you became powerful enough to find me. Yes. And to destroy neighborhoods looking. Jun's expression doesn't change. Yes. She wants to hate him for the honesty. It would be easier if he lied, if he pretended the collateral was accidental. But he offers no shelter from what he is. The project you canceled, Alina says. That was yours from the beginning. Yes. You were going to displace 70 families. Until I knew one of them mattered to you. Jun moves to the window. His reflection overlaps the city. Then I stopped. Because of me. Because of you. Alina stands. Walks to the door. Stops with her hand on the frame. I run a community center. I file grants and mediate disputes and teach kids how to fill out forms. That's my life. It's small and it's enough. I know. You don't get to rewrite it because you kept a piece of thread. Jun doesn't turn. I'm not trying to rewrite it. Then what are you trying to do? The question hangs. He looks at his reflection, then past it. Keep the promise I made when I left. You were 12. You didn't know what you were promising. I knew enough. He turns. The light catches his face in a way that makes him look younger and more tired. I told you I'd survive. I told you I'd come back. I didn't specify how. You came back wrong. I came back alive. Jun's voice is quiet, absolute. Everything else was the cost. Alina opens the door. The hallway is still empty, still too quiet. She doesn't look back. I didn't ask you to pay it. She leaves. The elevator descends in silence. When she reaches the street, the rain has started again. It always does. She pulls her jacket closed and walks toward the bus stop, away from the building that holds a man who spent 20 years turning a sandwich into a debt he cannot forgive himself for. Behind her, 12 floors up, Jun stands at the window and watches her disappear into the gray morning. The thread on his wrist is warm. His chest is not. Alina goes to the center anyway. She unlocks the door at 7, before the staff arrives, before the kids show up for breakfast program. The building smells like floor cleaner and something older, decades of use compressed into walls that have absorbed too many voices. She makes coffee in the kitchen where the pot is older than most of the children they serve, sits at her desk, and opens the grants that are due next week. The words blur. She reads the same paragraph 4 times and retains nothing. The fence won't leave her alone. It sits in her peripheral vision, insistent. The boy took the sandwich like it might vanish. Like the world had taught him that good things were temporary and usually traps. She gave it to him because, why? Because he was hungry. Because she had something he needed. Because at 10, The calculus of fairness was simpler. She didn't know it would cost 20 years. The door chimes. Alina looks up. Jun stands in the entrance. He is alone this time. No men in suits. No vehicles idling outside. Just him in clothes that still cost more than her monthly rent. Looking at the center like he's memorizing it. We're not open yet, she says. I know. He doesn't move past the threshold. I wanted to see where you work. Why? Because you're here more than you're anywhere else. He looks at the bulletin board covered in flyers, the basket of donated coats, the hand-painted mural of neighborhood buildings. This is what you chose. It's not a choice. It's a job. It's more than that. Jun's gaze returns to her. You could have left. You had options. You stayed. Alina stands, crosses her arms. You're tracking my employment history now? I know you were accepted to 3 universities. I know you turned them down. I know you've worked here for 8 years, first as a volunteer, then part-time, then full. He recites it without notes, without hesitation. I know you organize tenants' rights meetings and lead literacy programs and personally deliver meals to seniors who can't leave their apartments. The inventory makes her skin crawl. That's surveillance. That's trying to understand. Understand what? Why you're still the same. Jun takes a step inside. The door closes behind him on a spring that needs oil. Why you still give when you don't have to? Maybe I just work here. No one just works at a place for 8 years below their skill level. His voice is quiet, certain. You stayed because this neighborhood is yours. Because these people matter. Because you're still standing at that fence deciding who needs your sandwich. The comparison lands wrong. Too accurate. Alina looks away. It's not the same. It's exactly the same. She wants to argue, but the words won't form. He's right. She stayed because leaving felt like abandonment. She works here because someone has to care when the city decides a neighborhood is worth less than the land beneath it. She gives because at 10, a boy needed food and she had it. And the logic never got more complicated than that. You can't just show up here, she says instead. I can leave. That's not. She stops. Tries again. You can't buy buildings and cancel projects and surveil my life, and then act like that's normal. I'm not acting like it's normal. Jun moves closer, stops when she stiffens. I'm acting like it's necessary. For who? For me. The honesty is worse than evasion. Alina sits on the edge of her desk. The coffee has gone cold. Outside, the sky is the color of concrete. What do you want from me? Jun is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is lower, careful. I want you to understand what you did. I gave you lunch. You saw me. He touches the thread on his wrist. I was invisible. People walked past that fence every day. Teachers, parents, other kids. No one stopped. No one looked. Except you. I was 10. I didn't know better. You knew exactly enough. Jun's eyes don't leave hers. You knew I was hungry. You knew I needed help. You didn't ask questions or demand explanations or wait for permission. You just helped. Alina feels something tighten in her chest. That's what you do. When someone needs something and you have it. Not everyone. Jun shakes his head slightly. Most people look away. They convince themselves it's not their problem or not their place or not the right time. But you didn't. You were 10 years old and you didn't look away. The weight of being seen this way is unbearable. Alina stands. Walks to the window where she can watch the street instead of his face. You made a whole life out of one decision I barely remember making. Yes. That's too much. I know. You can't. Her voice catches. She doesn't know what she's trying to say. You can't love someone for something they did at 10. You can't build an empire on a sandwich. You can't make a childhood kindness into a debt that spans decades. But he did. And now she's standing in a community center that might have been demolished if not for a piece of thread she tied without thinking. What do you want me to say? She asks the window. Nothing. Jun's reflection appears beside hers in the glass. I don't need you to say anything. I need you to let me keep you safe. From what? From the people who want to hurt me through you. She turns. He's closer than she expected. Close enough that she can see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes, the scar above his left eyebrow, the precise way exhaustion sits on someone who doesn't allow themselves rest. I'm not your responsibility, she says. You became my responsibility the day you handed me half your sandwich. His voice is steady, immovable. I didn't ask for it. You didn't ask for it. But here we are. Here we are, she echoes. The phrase tastes like resignation. Jun reaches slowly, carefully, as if she might break or run. His hand stops just short of hers where it rests on the windowsill. Let me protect you. That's all I'm asking. That's not all. Alina doesn't pull away. Protection is proximity. Proximity is access. Access is control, he finishes. I know what it looks like. Then you know why I can't agree. I know why you shouldn't. Jun's hand drops. But the people who shot at you don't care about your autonomy. They care about leverage. And right now, your leverage. The truth of it sits between them, heavy and immovable. Alina thinks about the car outside her apartment, the call at 4 a.m., the way the basement exploded because he walked into it. How long, she asks. Until they understand you're protected. Or until I'm no longer a threat. Which is, I don't know. At least he doesn't lie. Alina looks at him, really looks. The boy behind the fence is there if she searches for it. In the way he stands too still, like motion might draw predators. In the way his eyes track exits. In the hunger that never fully leaves, even when the body is fed. I need to think, she says. Jun nods, steps back. The offer doesn't expire. He walks to the door, pauses with his hand on the frame. I kept the thread because it was the only proof I existed to someone, that I mattered enough to be remembered. He doesn't turn. You don't have to carry that. But I need you to know it's true. Then he's gone. The door closes. The spring squeaks. Alina stands alone in the center where she has spent 8 years trying to protect a neighborhood from people exactly like him. Except he's not exactly like them. He's worse. Because he has a reason. The car appears on Tuesday. Black, nondescript, parked across from Alina's apartment with a clear sight line to her door. She notices it when she leaves for work. It's still there when she returns at 8. On Wednesday, a man in a gray jacket stands at the corner near the center. He doesn't approach, doesn't speak. Just watches. When Alina walks to the corner store for milk, he follows at a distance that's meant to be obvious. On Thursday, she finds her phone has new software. The update happened overnight, without her permission. When she calls the number from before, the young man answers on the first ring. What did you do to my phone? Security upgrade. Encrypted messaging, location tracking if you're in danger, direct line too. She hangs up, throws the phone on the couch, stands in her apartment and counts exits she already knows she can't use freely. Friday morning, she walks out her door and finds Jun leaning against a car that costs more than her yearly salary. He's drinking coffee from a paper cup, watching the street like he has nowhere else to be. This has to stop, Alina says. Good morning. He offers her the second cup he's holding. She doesn't take it. The cars. The men. The surveillance. Protection, Jun corrects. I didn't ask for it. You didn't have to. He sets the cup on the car's hood. There was an attempt on your building Tuesday night. 2 men, both armed. They were intercepted before they reached your floor. The words take a moment to land. When they do, Alina's knees weaken slightly. She locks them. You're lying. I'm not. Jun pulls out his phone, shows her photos. 2 men face down on pavement, hands zip-tied. Weapons beside them. The timestamp reads 2:47 a.m. They were following orders. The orders came from people who want me to care less about money than I do about you. Alina stares at the images. Her building. Her floor. Why didn't the police? The police weren't called. Why not? Jun's expression doesn't change. Because involving them creates records. Records create patterns. Patterns create opportunities for lawyers to argue you're a willing participant rather than a target. A willing participant in what? In my life. He pockets the phone. The moment you're classified as an associate rather than a victim, you lose legal protection. You become prosecutable. The calculation is efficient and terrifying. Alina backs up a step. You've thought this through. I've thought through every scenario. Jun picks up both coffees, holds hers out again. This time she takes it. Her hands need something to do. This is the safest option. For who? For you. She almost believes him. That's the worst part. The men outside her building weren't theoretical. The weapons were real. Jun stopped something that would have ended with her bleeding on her own floor. But the cost of being saved is being watched. How long, she asks. As long as necessary. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Jun straightens. I'm trying to resolve this. But until I do, you're not safe without protection. Alina drinks the coffee. It's exactly how she takes it. 1 sugar, no cream. She doesn't ask how he knows. The answer is surveillance, and she's tired of hearing it confirmed. I have to go to work, she says. I'll drive you. No. Then someone else will. I can take the bus. You can. Jun opens the car door. But you'll be followed anyway. At least this way, you choose the vehicle. The logic is airtight. Alina hates it. She gets in the car. The drive is silent. Jun navigates traffic with the same controlled precision he does everything else. The car smells like leather and something else, sandalwood, maybe. Expensive. When they stop at a light, she watches him in profile. His jaw is tight. He doesn't look tired so much as compressed, like exhaustion is something he's decided not to acknowledge. Do you sleep? She asks. The question surprises him. When necessary. That's not sleeping. That's minimizing rest. It's sufficient. For what? For staying ahead. He glances at her, then back at the road. If I rest, I lose the advantage. If I lose the advantage, you're unprotected. The equation is simple and horrifying. Alina sets the coffee in the cup holder. You can't do this forever. I don't need forever. I need now. They reach the center. Jun doesn't pull to the curb. He parks, turns off the engine. The silence fills with things neither of them knows how to say. Thank you, Alina says finally. For Tuesday night. Jun nods once. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You stopped something terrible. I caused it first. His hands tighten on the steering wheel. They came for you because of me. The protection is just mitigating harm I created. That's not. It is. Jun looks at her. Everything dangerous in your life right now exists because I decided you mattered. That's not protection. That's infection. The word choice is deliberate, clinical. Alina reaches for the door handle, then stops. If you believe that, why not just leave? Walk away. Let me be invisible again. Because they already know. His voice drops. Once you're marked, distance doesn't erase it. It just makes you easier to reach. So I'm trapped. You're protected. The distinction matters to him even if it doesn't to her. There's a difference. Is there? Alina opens the door. Cold air rushes in. Because from here, they look the same. She gets out. Jun doesn't follow. She walks to the center's entrance and doesn't look back. Behind her, the car idles for 30 seconds, then pulls away. Across the street, a man in a gray jacket takes position near the bus stop. Inside, the center is already filling. Morning program starts in 20 minutes. Kids arrive with backpacks and hunger. Parents drop off permission slips and worries. Alina moves through the routine, sign-in sheets, breakfast trays, conflict mediation between two 8-year-olds arguing about whose turn it is for the computer. But the gray jacket is visible through the window. Always there. Always watching. At lunch, she tries to leave through the back exit. Another man is there, different face, same stillness. He doesn't stop her. He just follows. When she returns, he returns. The distance between them never changes. By evening, Alina feels it in her shoulders, the constant awareness of being observed. She can't stretch without wondering if it's being recorded. Can't stand at the window without knowing someone is standing at another window, watching her watch nothing. Jun calls at 7. She almost doesn't answer. I'm adjusting the coverage, he says without preamble. Less visible, same effectiveness. I don't want coverage. That's not an option. You don't get to decide that. I already have. His voice is patient, immovable. You can hate me for it, but you'll be alive to hate me. Alina closes her eyes. The center is empty now, just her and the cleaning crew. Outside, the gray jacket has been replaced by someone in a dark coat. The rotation is seamless. This isn't sustainable, she says. It doesn't have to be. Just until. Until what? Until you've eliminated every threat? Until you've killed everyone who knows my name? Her voice rises despite her intention. That's not safety. That's a cage. Jun is quiet. When he speaks again, something in his tone has shifted. Softened. I know what I'm asking. You're not asking. You're imposing. Yes. At least he doesn't pretend. Alina opens her eyes. Through the window, the city is turning itself over to evening. Lights flicker on. People move through their ordinary lives without men in gray jackets cataloging their movements. I need one day, she says. One day without surveillance. Without cars and phones and men watching me exist. I can't do that. Then we're done. The words come out steady. Final. I can't live like this. I won't. Silence. Then, Sunday. Noon to 6. No coverage. You're lying. I'm not. Jun sounds tired suddenly. Actually tired. Sunday, 6 hours. You'll be unwatched. But Alina, if something happens, if anyone approaches you, you call me immediately. And if I don't, then you'll prove I was right to be afraid. The line goes dead. Alina sets the phone down. Outside, the man in the dark coat checks his watch. The rotation continues. The protection persists. And somewhere, Jun makes a calculation that trades his certainty for her 6 hours of freedom. It will cost him. She already knows it. Sunday arrives gray and wet. Alina wakes at 11 and checks the street from her window. No car. She walks to the corner store at 11:45. No gray jacket. No dark coat. Just the ordinary anonymity of a city that doesn't care who she is. The absence feels like pressure released. And like something missing. She buys milk she doesn't need and takes the long way home. Walks past the center, closed on Sundays. Past the park where teenagers ignore the rain. Past buildings she's known her whole life. No one follows. No one watches. At 2 p.m., she takes the bus across town. Gets off at a stop she's never used and walks until her feet ache. The freedom is intoxicating and slightly nauseating. She keeps checking over her shoulder for surveillance that isn't there. At 4 p.m., she finds herself standing outside Jun's building. She didn't plan it. But here she is, staring at the door with the keypad, the camera angled to catch her face. She could leave. She should leave. The 6 hours are hers, and she's spending them walking toward the person she's supposed to be walking away from. She presses the buzzer. The door unlocks immediately. The elevator rises. The hallway is the same, empty, too quiet. Jun's door is closed this time. She knocks. He opens it looking like he hasn't slept since their last conversation. Same clothes, or similar enough. The thread is visible on his wrist. He stares at her like she might be a hallucination. You came, he says. You gave me 6 hours. I'm using them to tell you this doesn't work. He steps aside. She enters. The apartment is exactly as she remembers. Impersonal, expensive, empty. But this time, she notices a door slightly ajar at the end of the hall. Light spills from it, different from the cold, overhead fixtures. Warmer. Focused. What's in there? She asks. Jun follows her gaze. Something crosses his face. My office. Can I see it? He hesitates. The hesitation is answer enough. Why? Because you've surveilled my entire life. I want to see one room of yours. The logic is petty and fair. Jun exhales slowly, then nods. All right. He walks down the hall. Alina follows. He pushes the door open and steps aside. The room is smaller than she expected. One wall is entirely windows. The other 3 are maps. Alina stops breathing. The city covers every surface. Neighborhood maps, street maps, property records layered and pinned and marked with notations in handwriting she doesn't recognize as his until she sees the dates. 5 years ago. 4. 3. The ink changes color, black to blue to red, as the search intensifies. Red pins cluster in South Seattle. Dozens of them. Each one marked with an address, a date, sometimes a name crossed out. Near Lincoln Elementary, the pins are so dense they overlap. In the center of the largest map, a photograph. The community center, circled in red marker. Beside it, smaller photos, the street, the corner store, the bus stop. And then, printed from what must be a very old yearbook, a school photo of a 10-year-old girl with her hair in 2 puffs, smiling like the camera is a friend. Alina's hand goes to her mouth. How long have you had that? Her voice barely works. Jun stands in the doorway. I found it 3 years ago. Paid a contact to access archived school records. That's, she can't find the word. Illegal. Obsessive. Terrifying. I know what it is. Jun doesn't move. I needed to know I was looking for the right person. Alina walks closer. The maps have layers. Property purchases marked in green. Failed searches in yellow. There are hundreds of yellow pins. Beneath one cluster, a handwritten note. Zara Vance. Age 31, dental hygienist. Wrong person. 16 months wasted. You bought buildings, she says slowly. 17 properties in 4 years. Because you thought I might be near them. Because I knew you wouldn't have left. Jun's voice is quiet. You stayed for the same reason you gave me your sandwich. Because leaving would have meant abandoning people who needed you. She traces a line of red pins with her finger. They form a spiral radiating out from the elementary school. Each pin represents money, time, effort. Each pin is a piece of a city purchased and discarded in service of finding one person. This is insane, she whispers. Yes. This is obsession. Yes. You spent years, she turns. He's still in the doorway. not entering the room like it's a confession he's not allowed to join. You spent years and millions of dollars and reshaped entire neighborhoods just to find me. Yes. The repetition is maddening. Alina walks to the window. From here, she can see the center. It's just visible between two newer buildings. The project you canceled. That was always yours. From the beginning. Jun steps into the room finally. I bought the properties 2 years ago. I had planned to develop them. Then 6 months ago, I confirmed you worked at the center. The project ended that day. So you were going to destroy my neighborhood until you found me in it. Yes. And if I hadn't been there? Jun is quiet for a long moment. I don't know. It's the first time he's admitted uncertainty. Alina turns. He's standing near the desk where more papers are stacked. Reports, photographs, transcripts of community meetings. Her life, documented and analyzed. This isn't love, she says. This is, I don't know what this is. It's not love, Jun agrees. It's debt. I don't want your debt. That doesn't make it less real. He looks at the maps, the pins, the years compressed into 3 walls. You saved me when I was powerless. Everything I built was to repay that. To become someone who could protect you the way you protected me. I didn't protect you. I shared my lunch. You saw me. Jun's voice drops. In a city of millions, you were the only person who saw me. The only person who treated me like I deserved to survive. Alina feels tears building. She refuses to let them fall. So you built all this. An empire. A surveillance network. A cage made of protection. I built what I thought you'd need. You built what you needed. She gestures at the maps. This isn't about me. This is about you trying to make sense of being saved by someone who didn't think it was significant. The words land harder than she intended. Jun absorbs them without flinching. You're right. I know I am. It doesn't change anything. It has to. Alina walks to the door. Stops. You can't live like this. In this room, with these maps, searching for ways to repay a debt I never meant to create. Then what should I do? Jun asks. Not defensive. Genuinely asking. Alina looks back at him. At the man who kept a thread for 20 years, who bought 17 buildings and marked hundreds of pins, who traded violence for safety and called it repayment. Let me go, she says softly. Jun's expression doesn't change, but something behind his eyes fractures. I can't. Why not? Because they'll kill you. Maybe. She turns fully. But maybe that's not your decision to prevent. It is now. Jun crosses the room. Stops a careful distance away. The moment I walked into that basement, the moment I canceled the project, I made you visible to people who don't forgive witnesses. I can't undo that. So the only choice left is protection. Then you've trapped us both. Yes. The admission sits between them. Outside, the city continues. 6 hours of freedom are down to 90 minutes. Soon the surveillance will resume. The gray jackets will return. The phone will track her movements. Alina looks at the map one more time. The red pins. The spiral. The photograph of a 10-year-old girl who shared her sandwich and accidentally bound 2 lives together in ways neither of them could navigate free from. I need to go, she says. Jun nods. Doesn't follow. The 6 hours are yours. She leaves the office, the apartment, the building, takes the elevator down and exits onto a street that's still free of watchers. She has 90 minutes left. She spends them walking. Not toward home. Not toward anywhere. Just walking through a city that Jun has been remaking in the shape of a promise she never asked him to keep. At 5:58, she sees the first gray jacket reappear at the corner. At 6 o'clock, her phone buzzes. A text from the number she recognizes now. Coverage resumed. You're safe. Alina doesn't respond. She just keeps walking, surrounded by protection she didn't want and can't refuse, wondering which of them is actually trapped. The test sits in Alina's bathroom drawer for 3 days before she takes it. She bought it on a Tuesday afternoon, tucked between errands she barely remembers completing. Walked past the center, past the gray jacket on the corner, into a pharmacy 2 neighborhoods over where no one would recognize her. The cashier didn't look up. The transaction was anonymous. Alina carried the small box home in her purse like contraband. She knows before she takes it. Her body has been announcing it in small ways. Nausea that arrives without warning, exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, the way coffee tastes wrong. She's been ignoring these signals the way she ignores the surveillance, hoping that refusal might unmake reality. On Friday morning, she takes the test. 2 lines. Immediate. Unambiguous. Alina sits on the bathroom floor and counts tiles. 23 across. 14 down. The numbers mean nothing. They're just something to focus on besides the certainty that has just reshaped her entire life. Pregnant. With Jun's child. The man who surveils her movements and employs men to watch her and keeps maps of her city marked with pins. The man who spent 20 years turning a sandwich into a debt. She thinks about the night it happened. 3 weeks ago. After the second attempt on her building. After Jun had arrived at 3 a.m. with blood on his knuckles and something broken behind his eyes. After she'd opened the door and he'd stood there not asking for permission to enter, just existing in her doorway like he'd finally run out of words. She'd pulled him inside. He'd resisted. She'd insisted. They'd collided somewhere between her living room and her bedroom. All the tension and fear and anger transmuting into something neither of them could control. It was not gentle. It was not planned. It was two people trying to prove they were still capable of feeling something besides obligation and dread. And now there's this. 2 lines. A future neither of them chose. Alina stands. Looks at herself in the mirror. She doesn't look different. But everything is different. She calls the number. He answers immediately. What's wrong? I need to see you. When? Now. 20 minutes later, Jun arrives at her apartment. He takes the stairs instead of the elevator, appears at her door breathing slightly harder than usual. His eyes scan her for injury, for danger, for any sign of why she called with that tone. What happened, he asks. Alina steps aside. He enters. She closes the door and locks it. A habit now, after weeks of protection and fear. The apartment feels smaller with him in it. He takes up space without meaning to. Sit down, she says. He doesn't sit. Tell me what's wrong. She walks to the kitchen counter. The test is there, face down. She picks it up and holds it out. Jun stares at it. Doesn't take it. His expression doesn't change, but something in his posture shifts. Stiffens. Is that? Yes. He reaches slowly, takes the test from her hand, looks at the 2 lines. His breathing stops, then restarts. His hand is shaking slightly, barely perceptible, but Alina sees it. He can't finish the sentence. Pregnant. She says it for him. About 4 weeks. Jun sets the test down on the counter with extreme care, like it might shatter. His other hand goes to his mouth, then to the back of his neck. He turns away from her, faces the window. The silence stretches. Alina waits. She doesn't know what she expects. Reaction, rejection, calculation. What she gets is stillness. Finally, Jun speaks without turning. Do you want it? The question is careful. No assumption either way. Alina appreciates that even as she hates that they're having this conversation at all. I don't know yet, she says honestly. I wanted to tell you first. Why? Because it's yours too. Jun turns. His face is unreadable, but his eyes are too bright. What do you need from me? The question is too open. Alina sits at the small kitchen table. Her legs feel unstable. I need to know what happens next. If I keep it. What do you mean? I mean, she gestures vaguely. Your life. Your world. Men with guns. Surveillance. All of it. If there's a child, that becomes their life too. Understanding crosses Jun's face. He crosses the room, pulls out the other chair, sits. They're facing each other across 2 feet of table that feels like a chasm. If you keep it, he says slowly, I leave that life. Alina blinks. What? The syndicate. The networks. The parts of my life that create danger. His voice is steady, decided. I leave all of it. You can't just. I can. Jun leans forward. I've been building an exit for 2 years. Legal businesses, clean investments, transition plans. I stayed in the other life because leaving creates vulnerability. But if there's a child, he stops. Swallows. Then staying creates more risk than leaving. Alina stares at him. You're saying you'd go legitimate. Completely. For a baby you didn't plan. For you. And for them. Jun's hand moves to the thread on his wrist, touches it briefly. I survived to repay a debt. I stayed in that life to become powerful enough to protect you. But if protection requires becoming legitimate, then that's the next step. The logic is airtight and terrifying. Alina shakes her head. You can't make that decision in 30 seconds. I made it 2 years ago. This just made it urgent. Jun, listen to me. He reaches across the table. Doesn't touch her, but his hand rests palm up between them. An offer, not a demand. I know what I am. I know what I've done. I know the violence I'm capable of and the violence I've committed. But I also know that a child doesn't choose their parents. They don't choose what world they're born into. Exactly. So maybe they deserve better than what I've been. Jun's voice drops. You gave me your sandwich when I was starving. You saw me when I was invisible. You made me believe I was worth surviving for. If there's going to be a child, ours, then they deserve someone who's worth being survived for. Tears sting Alina's eyes. She blinks them back. That's a lot of pressure for something that's 4 weeks old. I know. You might regret it. I won't. You don't know that. I know myself. Jun's hand is still there, palm up, waiting. I know what I'm capable of choosing. And I'm choosing this. Alina looks at his hand, at the thread on his wrist, at the man who kept a promise for 20 years and is now offering to unmake himself for a possibility that might not even survive the first trimester. It's not that simple, she says. Leaving that life. People don't just let you walk away. They will if the cost of stopping me is too high. You'll make enemies. I already have enemies. This way, I'll have a reason. What if something happens? What if you can't protect us? Jun's jaw tightens. Then I'll die trying. The certainty in his voice is absolute. Not bravado. Not reassurance. Just fact. Alina believes him, which makes everything worse. I need time, she says, to decide. About all of it. How much time? I don't know. Weeks. Maybe longer. Jun nods. Stands. His hand withdraws from the table. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. But Alina, he pauses at the door. If you keep it, I'm all in. Completely. No halfway. I know. And if you don't, his voice catches slightly. If you don't, I'll still leave that life. Because you were right. I can't live in a room full of maps, searching for ways to repay a debt you never meant to create. He leaves before she can respond. Alina sits alone in her kitchen, staring at the test on the counter. 2 lines. A future branching in directions she can't predict. A man willing to dismantle himself for someone who might not exist. Outside, the gray jacket takes his position. The surveillance continues. But something has shifted. The protection feels different now. Less like a cage. More like a perimeter being drawn around something fragile. She places her hand on her stomach. Nothing feels different there yet. But it will. Everything will. Alina decides on a Wednesday. No dramatic revelation, no sudden clarity. She just wakes up and knows. She's keeping it. Them. The cluster of cells that will become a person who will ask questions she doesn't know how to answer yet. She calls Jun from the center. He answers on the first ring, like he's been holding the phone. I'm keeping it, she says without preamble. Silence. Then, okay. I meant what I said. I'm all in. Then you know what you have to do. I've already started. She should have known. Jun doesn't wait for permission or confirmation. He calculates and moves. It's how he survived. How long will it take, she asks. To fully extract? 6 months. Maybe less. His voice is steady, clinical. I'm meeting with my attorney today. After that, conversations with people who need to understand this is non-negotiable. Will they let you go? They won't have a choice. The certainty would sound like arrogance from anyone else. From Jun, it's just arithmetic. He's already counted the cost and decided it's payable. Be careful, Alina says. I will. A pause. How are you feeling? Tired. Nauseous. Terrified. That's normal. How would you know? I've been reading. Another pause. I can come over tonight. Bring food. Whatever you need. Alina almost says no, then doesn't. Okay. Not too late. 7. She hangs up, sits at her desk, and tries to focus on grant applications. The words blur. She's going to have a baby with a man who runs a criminal syndicate, who is currently dismantling that syndicate. Because of her. Because of the baby. Because of a sandwich from 20 years ago. Nothing about this makes sense. Everything about this feels inevitable. The dismantling happens in layers. Jun doesn't discuss most of it, but Alina sees the evidence. The gray jacket disappears from the corner and doesn't return. The cars outside her building change from black sedans to regular vehicles that come and go like normal traffic. At the center, a delivery arrives. New computers, still in boxes. No card. No explanation. When Alina calls to ask, Jun's response is simple. The center needed them. You can't just. I can. And I did. Accept it or donate them. Either way, they're not coming back. She keeps them. 2 weeks after her decision, Jun shows up with papers. Legal documents transferring property holdings, dissolving shell companies, converting assets. He spreads them across her kitchen table like he's sharing evidence. This is the framework, he says. 17 properties transition to a nonprofit trust. The trust will fund community development, affordable housing, small business grants, youth programs. No profit extraction. Alina scans the documents. The amounts are staggering. This is millions of dollars. Yes. You're just giving it away? I'm putting it where it should have gone from the beginning. Jun points to a specific clause. The trust is managed by an independent board. You can serve on it if you want. Or not. But the money stays in the neighborhoods. What about you? I keep enough to be stable. The rest goes into the trust or gets liquidated cleanly. He gathers the papers. I'm meeting with federal prosecutors next week. Alina's stomach drops. What? Cooperation. I provide information on networks I'm exiting. They provide immunity for future testimony and legal cover for the transition. He says it like he's discussing logistics, not potentially spending years in prison. That's dangerous. Less dangerous than staying half in. Jun looks at her directly. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it completely. That means cooperation, transparency, legal protection. The alternative is staying in the shadows, and that's not an option anymore. Because of the baby. Because of you. His hand moves to his stomach briefly, then away. Both of you. The conversations with the syndicate happen in rooms Alina doesn't see. Jun leaves for meetings and returns hours later, sometimes with new tension in his shoulders, sometimes with blood on his knuckles he washes off before she can ask about. One night, he arrives at midnight. She's already asleep, but the knock wakes her. She opens the door to find him leaning against the frame, exhausted in a way she hasn't seen before. What happened, she asks. Had to convince some people I was serious. He enters slowly. His suit jacket is torn at the shoulder. They're convinced now. Jun. I'm fine. He sits heavily on the couch. It's done. The major players have agreed to let me exit. There will be cleanup, loose ends, transitions, but the structure is dismantled. Alina sits beside him. His hands are bruised. She takes one carefully, examines the damage. Split knuckles, swelling. You need ice. I need to know you're okay. I'm okay. You're the one who looks like you fought someone. 3 someones. A ghost of a smile. They wanted to make a point. I let them. Then I made mine. She doesn't ask what his point was. The bruising suggests it was received clearly. She gets ice from the kitchen, wraps it in a towel, hands it to him. He presses it against his hand without flinching. How much longer? She asks. For months. Maybe less if the federal cooperation moves quickly. He adjusts the ice. The dangerous part is over. What's left is administrative. You say that like administration can't get you killed. It can, but it's less likely. He looks at her. Really looks, the way he did at the fence 20 years ago. Like she's something he's trying to memorize before it disappears. How are you feeling? Less nauseous. More tired. She touches her stomach unconsciously. Still flat. Still unchanged. I have a doctor's appointment next week. Can I come? The question surprises her. You want to, if you'll let me. Alina considers. Every part of this is complicated. The surveillance, the protection, the dismantling of an empire because she decided to keep a pregnancy. But Jun asking permission feels important. Like he's learning how to exist in proximity without control. Okay, she says. You can come. His shoulders drop slightly. Relief. Thank you. They sit in silence. Outside, the city moves through its night. Somewhere, people who used to answer to Jun are learning to answer to someone else. Somewhere, prosecutors are building cases from information he's providing. Somewhere, the empire is collapsing in slow motion. Do you regret it? Alina asks quietly. Which part? Any of it. All of it. Jun is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is steady. I regret that it took this long. That I built all of that before realizing it wasn't protection. It was just distance dressed as power. And now I'm learning what protection actually looks like. He sets the ice down. His hand is swollen, but already less angry. It looks like showing up. Being present. Asking permission instead of assuming authority. You're not very good at it yet. I know. A small smile. But I'm trying. Alina leans against him. He stiffens briefly, then relaxes. His arm comes around her shoulders, careful, tentative. They stay like that until she starts to drift off. You should sleep, Jun says quietly. You should too. I will. But he doesn't move. He stays until she's fully asleep, then carefully extracts himself. Covers her with the blanket from the back of the couch. checks the locks on the door and the windows. Habit, then lets himself out. Outside, the surveillance is minimal now. Just one man, discreet, at the far end of the block. Jun nods to him. The man nods back. Soon, even this will fade. The dismantling continues. Slower than violence. Quieter than power. But inexorable. By the fourth month, Jun has converted 17 properties, dissolved 3 shell corporations, and provided testimony that results in 4 indictments of people who were once associates. He moves into a smaller apartment, still nice, but not a fortress. Gets a job consulting for a legitimate development firm. Wears suits that cost less. The thread stays on his wrist. Alina watches him transform in increments. He's still too controlled, still too vigilant. But he's learning how to exist without surveillance, how to trust systems instead of force, how to be someone other than the ghost. At the 6-month mark, the federal prosecutors close their investigation. Jun is granted immunity in exchange for his cooperation. The paperwork arrives on a Thursday. He brings it to Alina's apartment, sets it on the table between them. It's done, he says. She reads the document. Legal language confirming what he's told her. Full immunity, no outstanding warrants, status as cooperative witness. Clean. How does it feel, she asks. Jun looks at his hands. The bruises have long since faded. Strange. Like I'm not sure who I am without it. You're someone who's about to be a father. The word still doesn't fit comfortably. He tries it on anyway. Father. In 3 months. 3 months. He looks at her stomach, visible now, unmistakable. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. But you're not afraid. Alina laughs. I'm terrified. I'm just better at hiding it than you are. Jun reaches across the table. His hand open, palm up. The same gesture from months ago. This time, Alina takes it. Outside, the city continues its ordinary chaos. No empires rise or fall. No surveillance tracks their movements. No violence waits in the margins. Just 2 people, holding hands across a kitchen table, trying to learn how to build something that doesn't require protection. Only presence. The baby arrives in March, 3 weeks early and furious about it. Alina's water breaks during a community meeting. Jun drives with the kind of controlled panic that would be funny if she weren't trying to breathe through contractions. Red light, she gasps. I see it. He runs it anyway. Labor lasts 14 hours. Jun stays the entire time, holding her hand when she wants it, backing away when she doesn't. He doesn't speak unless she asks him to. Doesn't offer platitudes or encouragement that sounds scripted. Just exists beside her while her body does impossible work. At 4:47 a.m., their daughter arrives. Small, loud, perfect. The nurse places her on Alina's chest, and the world reorganizes itself around this single point. Jun stands frozen beside the bed. His face has no expression, but his eyes are too bright. When the nurse asks if he wants to cut the cord, he nods once and does it with shaking hands. She's here, Alina whispers. She's here, Jun echoes. Like confirming a fact he still can't believe. They name her Maya. Alina chooses it. Jun agrees immediately, which is new for him, agreeing without offering alternatives or calculations. The first week home is chaos. Maya sleeps in 20-minute intervals, cries without obvious cause, refuses every pacifier they try. Alina is exhausted in ways she didn't know were possible. Jun moves into the apartment without asking. Just shows up on day 2 with a bag and doesn't leave. He's surprisingly competent. Changes diapers with efficient precision. Learns to swaddle. Walks Maya around the apartment at 3 a.m., murmuring to her in Korean. Soft words Alina doesn't understand, but that seemed to soothe something in both of them. One night, Alina wakes to find him standing by Maya's bassinet, just watching her breathe. The thread on his wrist catches the nightlight. You okay? She asks quietly. He doesn't turn. I don't know how to be good at this. Nobody does it first. You do. I fake it better. Alina sits up. Her body still aches from labor. Jun, you're doing fine. I'm not, he stops. Tries again. I spent 20 years learning to hurt people. To calculate violence. To see threats everywhere. And now I'm supposed to just. He gestures helplessly at the sleeping baby. Be gentle. Alina understands. You are being gentle. It doesn't feel natural. It's not supposed to yet. She gets up, stands beside him. Maya sleeps on, oblivious. You're learning. That's what this is. Jun is quiet. Then, what if I can't unlearn the other parts? Then we'll figure it out. Alina touches his arm. Together. The word feels significant. Together. Not her alone, not him imposing, but both of them navigating the same impossible terrain. Jun looks at her. Something in his expression cracks open. I don't deserve this. Probably not. She smiles slightly. But you're here anyway. By week 3, they've established a routine. Sort of. Maya still doesn't sleep, but they've learned to predict some of her patterns. Jun handles the early morning shift. Alina takes late night. They trade off in between, passing the baby back and forth like a relay race neither of them signed up for. Jun's apartment sits empty. He mentions it once, asks if he should give it up. Alina realizes she doesn't want him to leave. Doesn't say that directly. Just says, keep it for now, in case you need space. He nods. Doesn't go back there. The first fight happens over something small. Maya's crying. Jun suggests a new formula. Alina snaps that they've already tried that. Jun goes silent in the way he does when he's calculating. Alina recognizes the shutdown and hates it. Don't do that, she says. Do what? Disappear. You're here, but you're not here. Jun sets down the bottle he was preparing. I'm trying not to escalate. By shutting down completely? By not saying something I'll regret. I'd rather you say it, and we deal with it than you just, she makes a gesture. Vanish inside yourself. Jun's jaw tightens. Fine. I think you're exhausted and taking it out on me. And I think the formula is worth trying. And I think you're not listening because you need to be right. The honesty lands like cold water. Alina exhales. Okay, you're right. I'm exhausted and I'm being defensive. I'm also right about the formula. Don't push it. A ghost of a smile. They try the formula. It doesn't help. But the fight feels important. Proof that they can disagree and return to each other afterward. 2 months in, Jun's old world intrudes. Not violently. Quietly. An envelope appears under the apartment door. No return address. Inside, photographs of Maya. Taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Jun finds them first. Alina watches his face go completely still. The shutdown is different this time. Not emotional, but tactical. He's calculating threats. What is it, she asks. He hands her the envelope without speaking. She looks at the photos. Her stomach goes cold. They know where we are, she says. Yes. What do we do? Jun is already on his phone. 3 calls in quick succession, each under 60 seconds. When he's done, he looks at Alina. We move. Tonight. Jun. Not negotiable. His voice is flat, final. Someone's sending a message. Until I know who and why, we're not safe here. You said the dangerous part was over. I was wrong. They pack essentials. Maya sleeps through the chaos. By midnight, they're in a car heading to a location Jun doesn't name. Alina holds Maya and tries not to panic. The safe house is in a neighborhood she doesn't recognize. Quiet. Suburban. The kind of place where no one notices arrivals. Jun carries Maya inside while Alina follows with bags. How long, she asks. Until I resolve this. Jun sets up the portable bassinet with efficient movements. A few days. Maybe a week. And then we decide if staying in the city is viable. The possibility of leaving hadn't occurred to her. My job, the center, is less important than staying alive. You don't get to decide that. Jun turns. His face is tired, older than it should be. Someone photographed our daughter. That's not a negotiation. That's a threat. Alina wants to argue. Can't. He's right. She hates that he's right. Okay. 1 week. Then we reassess. Agreed. The week stretches. Jun leaves during the day, comes back with updates that are vague and insufficient. Alina stays with Maya, watches daytime television, feels like a prisoner in a house that's supposed to be protection. On day 5, Jun comes home early. It's resolved. What does that mean? The threat came from someone who thought I still had leverage to trade. I explained I don't. They've accepted that. How did you explain it? Jun sets his keys on the counter. In a way that was understood clearly. She doesn't ask for details. Doesn't want to know if there was violence. Just wants to know if it's over. Can we go home? Yes. But Alina, he pauses. This could happen again. People from my old life resurface. They test boundaries. It's not frequent, but it's not impossible either. So we just live with that. Or we leave the city. Start somewhere new. Somewhere no one knows me. The suggestion is enormous. Leave Seattle. Leave the center. Leave everything familiar. Alina looks at Maya, sleeping in her arms, oblivious to the complications she's been born into. I need to think about it, she says. Take your time. They return to the apartment. Life resumes its ordinary chaos. But something has shifted. Alina finds herself checking windows, noting exits, calculating distances. She's learning Jun's vigilance despite not wanting to. 3 months after Maya's birth, they attend their first doctor's appointment together. Routine checkup. Everything is fine. Maya's growing, hitting milestones. On the way out, they pass a family in the waiting room. Mother, father, toddler. Normal. We're not normal, Alina says in the car. Jun glances at her. No. Does that bother you? He considers. I don't know what normal would feel like, so I can't say I miss it. But you want it. For her. Yes. Jun looks at Maya in the rearview mirror. For her, I want boring. Predictable. Safe. Then maybe we should leave. The words surprise both of them. Jun pulls over. Turns to face her. You do that? I don't know. Maybe. Alina touches Maya's hand. Tiny fingers curl reflexively. I built my life here. But maybe she deserves a different start. Where would we go? Somewhere smaller. Quieter. Somewhere you're not the ghost. She looks at him. Could you do that? Just be normal? I don't know. His honesty is careful. But I'd try. They sit in the parked car, traffic moving around them, making a decision that feels too large to hold. Finally, Alina says, give me 6 months. To see if the threats stop. If they do, we stay. If they don't, we leave. Jun finishes. We leave. It's not a solution. Just a postponement. But it's what they have. They drive home. Maya sleeps. The city passes outside the windows. Familiar, complicated, full of history neither of them can fully escape. But they're trying. Together. 3 years pass without major incident. Small disruptions, yes. A suspicious car that turns out to be nothing. An envelope delivered to the wrong address that sends Jun into tactical mode for 48 hours. But no photographs. No direct threats. The ghost's past recedes slowly, like a tide that doesn't promise never to return, just agrees to stay distant for now. They stay in Seattle. Maya grows. Walks at 13 months. Talks early, in full sentences that surprise the pediatrician. She has Alina's determination and Jun's focus. At 2, she organizes her toys by color without being asked. At 3, she names the route from home to the center without prompting. Jun takes a permanent position at the development firm. Not glamorous, project management, community liaison work. He's good at it in ways that surprise his colleagues. He understands neighborhoods, understands resistance, understands how to listen to people who have been ignored by men in suits their entire lives. Alina returns to the center part-time when Maya is 6 months old, full-time when she's 2. The work is the same, grants, programming, mediating disputes. But something has changed. She's less patient with bureaucracy, more willing to push back. Jun's influence, maybe, or motherhood, or both. They don't marry. Alina suggests it once, practical reasons, legal protections, paperwork simplicity. Jun agrees if she wants it. She realizes she doesn't. Marriage feels like formalizing something that doesn't need formalization. They exist in proximity, raising a child, learning each other's rhythms. That's enough. The center expands. New funding arrives, some from Jun's trust, some from grants Alina writes at midnight after Maya goes to sleep. They hire 2 more staff members. Add an after-school program. The building gets renovated. New windows, fresh paint, upgraded kitchen. During construction, Jun suggests adding something in the back. A garden, maybe. Space for kids to be outside. The contractors clear the overgrown lot behind the building. When they do, they find an old chain-link fence half buried in weeds. Jun stands looking at it for a long time. That's it, Alina says, coming up beside him. Yes. The fence is rusted worse than she remembered. Sections are missing. But the posts are still there, marking the boundary between the center and the empty lot that no one owns. We could take it down, she offers. No. Jun touches one of the posts. Leave it. Build around it. They do. The garden takes shape. Raised beds, a small greenhouse, benches. The fence becomes a feature rather than a barrier. They clean the rust, reinforce the posts, hang lights along the top. It looks deliberate now. Intentional. On a Saturday in October, Maya asks to help in the garden. She's 3.5, still too small for most tools, but insistent anyway. Alina brings her after lunch. Jun is already there, installing an irrigation system. Maya runs ahead, calling for him. He straightens, catches her when she launches herself at his legs, lifts her up without visible effort. What are you planting? Maya asks. Vegetables. Maybe flowers if your mother approves. I approve flowers, Alina says, arriving with a basket of seed packets. They work for an hour. Maya mostly moves dirt from one place to another, but she's serious about it. Jun shows her how to make holes for seeds. Alina explains which plants need sun, which prefer shade. Ordinary work. Peaceful. Then Maya notices the fence. What's that? She asks, pointing. An old fence, Jun says. It's been here a long time. Why? It used to separate things. Now it's just decoration. Maya walks over to it, stands on her toes, trying to see through to the other side. What's over there? Nothing right now, Alina says. Just an empty lot. Can I go see? Not today. Maya accepts this, returns to her dirt moving. But she keeps glancing at the fence like it's a puzzle she's meant to solve. The next week, Alina stays late at the center. Paperwork that couldn't wait. Jun picks up Maya from daycare, brings her to the center so Alina doesn't have to leave. Maya plays quietly in the main room while Alina finishes reports. Around 5, Maya goes outside. Alina doesn't notice immediately. When she does, she finds Maya in the garden, standing at the fence. On the other side, a boy. He's maybe 8 years old. Too thin. Clothes that don't fit right. Standing in the overgrown lot like he's not sure he's allowed to be there. Alina's chest goes tight. She moves toward them. Maya is talking. Hi, I'm Maya. This is our garden. The boy doesn't respond. Just stares. Are you hungry? Maya asks. The question stops Alina mid-step. The boy nods once. Small movement. Barely visible. Maya turns, runs back to the building. Returns with her lunchbox. The one Jun packed this morning that she only half finished. She opens it, pulls out the sandwich inside. Peanut butter and banana. She pushes it through the fence. Here, you can have it. The boy looks at the sandwich like it might disappear. Reaches out slowly. Takes it. Doesn't say thank you. Just eats, fast and careful, like someone afraid the offer will be rescinded. Alina stands frozen. The scene is too familiar. Exact enough to hurt. Jun appears beside her. She didn't hear him arrive. He watches Maya, watches the boy, his expression unreadable. When the boy finishes the sandwich, Maya unties the ribbon from her hair, red, thin, bought in a 3-pack from the drugstore. She loops it through the fence, ties it in a knot that won't hold for long, but means something anyway. So you remember someone helped, Maya says. The phrasing is odd, adult. Something she's heard before and is repeating without fully understanding. The boy touches the ribbon, nods again. Then he turns and runs. Disappears into the lot, through gaps in buildings Alina can't track. Maya comes back to them, satisfied. I shared my lunch. I saw, Alina says. Her voice barely works. He was hungry. Yes. So I gave him my sandwich. That's what you do. Maya states it like obvious fact. Right. Right, Jun says quietly. Maya runs back inside, already focused on something else. The attention span of a 3-year-old. But Alina and Jun stand in the garden, staring at the fence, at the place where the boy disappeared, at the ribbon still tied to the chain link. Did that just, Alina can't finish. Yes. She doesn't even know. No. Jun's hand finds hers. But she'll understand someday. Will she? I don't know. He looks at the fence. At the ribbon. At the pattern repeating itself without their permission. Maybe some things just continue. And we're just here to witness them. They go inside. The center is closing for the evening. Staff members say goodbye. Families collect children. The ordinary rhythm of a community space returning to quiet. Maya falls asleep in the car on the way home. Jun carries her upstairs. Alina follows, watching him navigate the stairs with their daughter in his arms, careful not to wake her. Inside the apartment, Jun puts Maya to bed. Returns to find Alina standing at the window, looking out at the city. You okay? He asks. I don't know. She turns. That boy. We can't just. I know. Tomorrow I'll go back. See if he returns. I'll come with you. What if he needs more than a sandwich? Then we help. Jun crosses the room. Stands beside her. The way you helped me. The way Maya helped him. That's what we do. Alina leans against him. Outside, Seattle continues its complicated existence. Somewhere, a boy is eating a sandwich and touching a ribbon and learning that sometimes people see you when you need to be seen. Tomorrow, they'll return to the fence. They'll look for him. They'll offer what help they can, food, resources, a safe place to exist. They'll do it because the pattern demands it, because kindness is cyclical, because 23 years ago, a girl shared her lunch and changed everything without knowing it. And maybe that's how it works. Small gestures that compound across decades. Sandwiches that become empires, that become gardens, that become more sandwiches. The fence stays. The city changes. The pattern continues. Jun's hand finds the thread on his wrist. It's almost disintegrated now, barely holding together. Soon it will fall apart completely, and that will be okay. Because the thread was never the point. The point was always what it represented. Someone cared when you were invisible. Someone saw you when you were starving. Someone decided you mattered. And now their daughter knows that too. We did something right, Alina says softly. Jun kisses the top of her head. We did everything right. Outside, rain begins to fall. It always does in Seattle. The city darkens and softens. Lights flicker on in windows. People move through their evenings, unaware that in a small apartment, two people are learning that protection isn't about control or surveillance or maps with red pins. It's about showing up, being present, tying ribbons through fences when someone needs to remember they're not alone. The ghost has finally learned what he was always meant to become. Just a father, just a man, just someone learning, slowly, how to live outside the cage of his own creation. The rain continues. The pattern holds. And somewhere in the city, a boy touches a red ribbon and decides, maybe, that surviving is worth it.